The Ugandan people, like people elsewhere in the world, deserve not a fraudulent rigged elections, not a managed elections. They deserve the genuine article. They deserve free and fair elections which are truly free and fair. And we must never settle for anything less. We must never settle for anything less. Don't let anybody in London tell you it is like that in Africa, because it is not the case. Don't let anybody tell you, well, Museveni, he will never agree to free and fair elections. It doesn't depend on Museveni. It depends on the Ugandan people. We must not settle for anything less. In the context of free and fair elections, I propose to the inter-party group that the biggest instrument for rigging elections in Museveni is the Electoral Commission. That is part and parcel of the NRM rigging machine. Therefore, we must begin by throwing a gauntlet in front of Museveni concerning Electoral Commission. So, we said we have a complete break with the Electoral Commission. We have a rupture with the Election Commission, meaning non-recognition, non-cooperation, non-participation. That's what it means. We must insist that we have an independent electoral commission, because we know in advance that the Museveni Chigundu Election Commission is incapable to organize free and fair elections. So why would we submit to such an election commission when we know in advance what they will do? So the first order of business is to insist that we have an independent electoral commission. And there's no reason on earth why we should not have that, except if we decide to surrender to Museveni. We must have an independent electoral commission. And then we saw the exercise concerning voter registry. Equally clear today is that the current voter registry put out by the Museveni Chigundu Commission is fraudulent, completely fraudulent. I think they came out with the figure 15 million voters had registered. Out of I don't know how many Ugandans, maybe close to 30, so almost half of the population. It is statistically nonsensical. But it shows you the measure of the rigging. So again, we must insist that we want to have a clean, verifiable, transparent registry of voters. Now, let me clarify, because some people have been saying, so this must mean you want to boycott the election. Oh no, we are not in the boycott business. We want elections more than Museveni does. We are heading for election in 2011. We insist on elections. But if our destination is free and fair elections, there are foundational blocks that lead to free and fair elections. And if the first major foundation block, called the Electoral Commission, is fundamentally flawed, how can you build the rest of the edifice? If the second foundational block, called the register of voters, is fundamentally flawed, how can you continue building the edifice? It means the entire edifice will be flawed and will collapse. We want free and fair elections with foundational blocks that are sound, that are genuine, that can lead to free and fair elections. So we must fight on this stuff without giving an inch. And the result, the outcome will depend on us, the people of Uganda, not on Museveni. People ask me, but if Museveni says no, well, if he says no, so what? Museveni is only one contestant among many contestants. NRM is only one party among many parties. Why should the say-so of Museveni and the say-so of the NRM define our party in this regard? Why? But we have been conditioned to think, oh my goodness, if Museveni says no, well, it is no, what can we do? nonsense is this? Ugandans, we have to learn to take a stand and say no when it is necessary and mean no and not move from our no when necessary. Let me mention next the issue of institutions. You know, no society can be governed, no society can develop if it is institutions-less. Alas, Uganda today is an institutions-less state, except for one institution. There's one massive, overblown, larger-than-life institution. It's called the presidency. Everything in the state begins and ends with the presidency. I think you've heard that even the award of scholarships, we have a Ministry of Education. We used to have a commission for scholarship of selected experts who look at qualification, decide you qualify, you don't qualify. What business is it to allocate scholarships at the kitchen table of the president? What has that to do with the president? What business is it that a president allocates land and decides, well, this land is for so-and-so, this land is for so-and-so, most of it land grab. I thought we had land commissions at the national level, all the way to the lower level. What business is it for the president to say, I don't like that policeman, something happened, therefore, there on the spot, complete kangaroo fashion. You are out, you are in. Something is gone fundamentally wrong. Not only with him, obviously, but with the country if we accept that. Uganda used to pride itself on an elaborate network of institutions of governance. Take the CID under Mr. Hassan. Some of you will not remember Mr. Hassan. And Mr. Hassan was legendary. With the CID data, there were very few crimes in the country that he could not crack. That was the CID, known all over Eastern Africa. Today, the CID has been systematically corrupted. The crimes I was telling you about, burning of this school, killing of this child, the CID is nowhere on site. Instead, Mr. Museveni gives directive, pounds on Mr. X. He said something I don't like. So the CID has become running boys for Mr. Museveni to do his dirty work. We have to rescue the CID from this. Similarly, Uganda had a whole network of institutions for economic development. Coffee marketing board, land marketing board, Uganda Commercial Bank, sure, a whole cooperative, Busoga Cooperative Union, Bugisu Cooperative Union, major institutions that were the engine of development in the country. Tell me which of them remains standing today. Which of them remains standing today? And most of them, by the way, given away in these sweetheart deals for a song. Most of them. For a song. How can we develop without such network of institutions? So we have to revive and update these institutions of governance and the institutions of economic development. And with that, we must bring to an end the voodoo method of running the state. Mr. Museveni's voodoo method of running the state. You know, Museveni goes to the east, something comes in his head, it says, don't grow coffee anymore. Don't grow coffee. Today you begin vanilla. Mr. President, how did you arrive at this? I heard it's a good idea. There's no planning, no research has taken place. No Ugandan experts have been asked if this is better for the farmers, if there's a market for this, none whatsoever. It just, the president has said it, on that spot that becomes policy. Ministers begin to run for cover to implement this policy. If you go to Uganda, ask Mr. Museveni over the last 25 years, how many plans, actual plans, developed by experts in each of these sectors exists?
Zero.
Ask him how many plans exist. Can you seriously before we had better wake up now. It makes a difference whether you've got the rule of law or not in a country. You know, in Uganda today, especially in the countryside, in Kampala you can get along. You can, because there's searchlight from the international community, the media, so they have to be careful how they treat citizens in Kampala. But you go to the countryside and you discover a police state par excellence. People are truly terrified. They are cowed. They are at the mercy of the authorities, of NRM operatives. They have no recourse. The other day when there was, we saw a coffee shop. We knocked on the door, said, could you give us some coffee? We sat down. The owner began to tremble. Mister, why are you trembling? He said, you know, if they see you come here. When you leave, they will come for me. I have a friend who was with me at school, the same classroom at Buddha, in Masindi. I went to Masindi. He heard I was in town. He was excited. He sent word, I'm here in Masindi. I know you're in Masindi. I'm so happy. I want to see you. So I said, well, say, yes, I'm in this hotel. Please come and see me. He sent word back to me. Please, you must understand, I cannot do so. They will get to know I came to see you. I'll be in trouble. You wait. When I come to Kampala, we'll find a discreet place. But you know, this is Uganda in which we live. This is Uganda in which we live. A police state par excellence. I could give you legion of examples of a people with no rights, no recourse. That's why I say the people of Uganda have become subjects who are ruled over, subjugated, not free citizens in their land. This is to do with the rule of law. We want us, the other day I was told, by the way, as the presidential spokesman in connection with a case against me, the presidential spokesman said, well, who is Olaro Tunu? He's not immune from the law. Amen. I'm a law-abiding citizen. Of course I'm not immune from the law. But the second sentence was interesting. He says, the only person who is immune from the law in Uganda is President Museveni. So we have an individual, a person in our land who is immune from the law. You know, our son, President Barack Obama, he's the most powerful person in the whole wide world. He's not immune from the law. The Prime Minister of UK is very powerful. He's not immune from the law. They do not rule by the law, meaning using the law to oppress and to terrorize. They rule under the law. They rule under the law. That is what it means to have the rule of law. That the laws provide for the rights of citizens, for responsibilities, for neutral arbitration. And the president, the ministers, the commanders, everybody is subject to that. Not above the law. And we need very badly to reinstitute in our country a genuine rule of law regime. Agreed? Yes. These are my preoccupations. They are not exhaustive, they are not comprehensive. For the purposes of our discussion this afternoon, these are the 10 main issues on my mind that, in my view, should compose an agenda for the renewal of our land. Now, let me say a word about the agency of renewal, the agency of change. Who will make it happen? Let me say a word about that. First, of course, as I said, and is implied directly by my first proposal, of a social movement, it is the people of Uganda in their breadth, in their width, in their depth. The people of Uganda mobilized, coming together to effect change, a social movement. Second, of course, it is political forces. And I just say one word about UPC, since I'm the president of UPC. I am in UPC for very specific reasons. Beginning in the days of Ignatius Musaza, beginning with UNC, to what today we call UPC. That formation that began with Ignatius Musaza and evolved into UPC. I'm completely confident in saying it is the most progressive, sane political formation to emerge in Uganda's history. This in no way suggests that UPC has not had its difficulties, that UPC has not made mistakes, that you may not have various quarrels with various aspects of things which have happened, and certainly with a lively debate that must continue about 1966, in particular, the rupture which created what I call the unnatural situation. But that should not blind us from recognizing that from the inception of UNC, which became UPC, will be the most progressive single formation in the country. Standing for the following